Hello and welcome to Two Car Pros. Today we're going to be taking a look at how to change these spark plugs and wires for a 2008 V6 3.3 liter Dodge Grand Caravan. The tools we're going to need today is a ratchet, a medium extension, and a 5/8 spark plug socket. The spark plug socket is very important, and make sure you buy a quality one. Okay, our first job is pretty easy to getting the spark plug out. We just need to remove this spark plug wire that connects into the coil pack here. Now you might notice that all of the coil wires are a little bit different. So there's two short ones like this, two medium that's on 4 and 1, and two long that are on 2 and 5. So you need to keep track of those. It's pretty easy. If a cable is not long enough, you probably have the wrong one on a different spark plug. So it goes long, medium, short for length of spark plug cable or spark plug wire. And make sure you do this on a cold engine, just because if you accidentally touch this heat shield for the exhaust manifold, it'll burn you quite badly. So make sure you're doing this on a cold engine. Alright, the next thing we're going to need is a 5/8 spark plug socket. They're available pretty much anywhere tools are sold. And a ratchet with a medium extension. And we're going to make sure the ratchet is square on the spark plug nut. You don't want it like half off or tilted or whatever. You want to make sure it's completely square when you are removing it. And there we go. We can remove the spark plug just like that. And as you can see, the threads are actually decently long, so just keep spinning to the left and eventually the spark plug will be removed. And we can do the same thing to the other two on this side of the engine. And there we go, that's the last one on this side. And we can finish removing the spark plug wires, because we know the lengths go long, medium, short. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is take our used spark plug and our used spark plug wires here. Those are these ones, and we're going to compare them to our new ones. I have all 6 of the new ones here and 3 new plugs here, and we can compare everything. So we're going to compare looks like this is a long one. Yep, long one. That's another long one. Medium size one and a short one, because we're going to need one of each, all 3, to do the front side of the engine. And then we can compare our new spark plugs to it here, to our old ones, to make sure those are in fact identical, and they are, except this one's new. And the gap is on screen right now. If you don't know how to gap a spark plug, there's a video up here in the card that will cover that. The next thing we're going to do, and you can do this in front of your engine so it doesn't get everywhere, we're going to use a little bit of anti-seize here. It's aluminum. It's available at every auto parts store and on Amazon. There's a link below in the description in case you just want to buy some there. And there's links below for the cables and the spark plugs I'm using here today. So we're going to put a little bit here. And the reason you put it on the bottom of the thread, and even that's a little too much, is because as you screw this in, the head is going to be like this right here, and then as you screw it in, it's going to move up, so everything will be covered. So just a little dab like that will do ya. Even a little bit less is okay. And then we need to prepare the spark plug wires themselves. Now these come preloaded, I think, with some dielectric grease. Well, maybe not actually. So what we're going to do is grab some dielectric grease, available below in the description, and squirt some in there. Not a huge amount, but enough. And as we put it on the spark plug, this is the spark plug side, put this on the spark plug, it's going to squish down in there and preserve the connection. Make sure those don't get corroded out. We're going to do on this side as well. And you can get a screwdriver if you want to, and kind of ramrod it down there in advance, but doing it like this is fine too, because obviously when you put it on the spark plug, it's going to go where it needs to. So now we're ready to head back over to the van. So the next thing we need to do is start replacing plugs, and you always want to thread them in by hand. Oops. So you make sure you're not cross-threading them. You can also load up your socket in advance. Either way is fine. It's just this is really easy to do it by hand, and it look better on camera. But you can load up your socket however you like. Some people like preloading the socket, some people like starting it by hand, but sometimes it's not even possible. Sometimes you have to do it with a socket, like on my F-150. Okay, so it's starting to get tight there, and it's not cross-threaded, it's right. If your spark plug's not going in and it's really, really difficult, you might have it cross-threaded, so make sure and double check you don't have that situation going for you. So the foot-pounds on this is 13. That's the torque spec, and no, I don't have a torque wrench that goes down that low, so I'm just going to do about medium tight. It's a spark plug, it's not holding anything crazy in. So 13 foot-pounds is the factory correct setting. But if you don't have a torque wrench, a regular ratchet, and your best judgment is probably okay. If you're really not sure, just go rent a torque wrench. I think it's free to rent them from AutoZone. Okay, we can replace our ignition wire here. And you might have seen it on camera. When I put it on, there's kind of like a little click, kind of like a little reassuring notch into position. And now we can plug it back into the ignition pack here. And again, you're going to hear and feel that nice reassuring click. As an added bonus, our spark plug wire organizer is still intact, so we're going to use it. I put the number 6 in the lowest position there, because it made the most amount of sense. So that spark plug is all done. You just do that for these other two over here, and then we can go to the fun ones on the back of the engine. Alright, and this is basically what it should look like when you're all finished. They're all the same exact process. Again, 13 foot-pounds is the torque spec. If you don't have one, a torque wrench, that's okay. You can just use your better judgment, and you can rent or buy a torque wrench if you're really, really concerned about it, because if you break a spark plug off in the head, you might have to remove the head to extract it, and that's a big old headache. So the front side's done, pretty straightforward and easy. Now we can move on to the back side, and it's the exact same thing, it's just a little bit harder to get to. Okay, so hopefully everyone can see what I'm doing back here. I'm only going to show you one because, as you imagine, it is insanely hard to film. I'm actually really surprised I got the camera behind the engine on the firewall. So I'm holding the spark plug wire for cylinder number 5 here, and they're all the same, so it's just a matter of, you know, hugging the engine and unplugging things. So it's just the same as the front. We'll unplug this, just like that. We can let it dangle. Grab our 5/8 spark plug socket, make sure it is on the plug, like that. Make sure it's nice and square on the nut there, and then we can loosen it. It was a little harder to do it back here, but that's okay. And it's gonna be hard, I'm not gonna lie to you. This is gonna be frustrating experience. It's not a cakewalk. But like in everything in life, once you know how to do it, it becomes much easier. But you are gonna get dirty, you know, draping yourself over the engine like I am right now. Not the tallest guy. But there you go. You just keep removing it like so. So there you go. This one, I'm gonna load up my spark plug socket like I've done here. And do your best not to bump the electric strap on your spark plug. Just try to match the angle of the other spark plugs for reference. This is when it helps to have a mirror. You can kind of set it up, make sure you're on right. And when you're removing your spark plug socket, be careful because you don't want to break the porcelain of the spark plug. Now we can replace our spark plug wire there. Just gotta find the plug, there we go. I'm doing all this by feel, by the way. And that feels perfect. So now we can plug the other side of the spark plug wire in. So it turns out the spark plug we just replaced was cylinder number 1. I thought it was number 5. I thought that was a little weird. That should have been number 1. Must be a firing order thing. But then why wouldn't you just put one here on the coil pack? I'm a little confused on that. That's okay. So that's why it kind of pays sometimes to do things one at a time, so something like this doesn't happen to you. So it looks like, okay, I see. It is wired totally differently from the front. I thought it was identical. So 5 is actually up here, where 2 is the closest over here. So, or no, excuse me. While 2 is the furthest away over here. So that is interesting. It's wired a little bit differently. So on the back, this might throw a couple people. I'm glad I'm doing this. On the back, the one closest this way is actually cylinder 1. If I looked at a diagram of the engine or paid attention, I would have noticed that. That's okay. So we'll remove this, throw this in the trash, grab our spark plug wire here. By the way, I used a medium length wire for this one. Oh no, I think I used it's a long one. Yeah, it's a long one. And then 3 looks like it's a medium, and then 5 is gonna be a short for the ignition cables and for the spark plug wires. And this is the stock routing system for the spark plug wires. You can leave it intact if you want, but the safety that holds this in place is broken off, and it's not super important anyway, and I think I'll just make a homemade zip-tied one. All right, so that is all 6 plugs finished and done. It looks great. If you got lost, maybe you just unplugged all the wires at first, it's really easy. 2 goes to this cylinder, 4 goes to this cylinder, 6 goes to this cylinder, 5, now on the back side it's a little trickier. 5 goes to this cylinder here, the closest this way. 1 goes to the very front, so this cylinder, and 3 goes to the middle cylinder. So there you go, nice and outlined for you. And as far as to get these plugs back here, I didn't do anything special. I literally just bear hugged the engine like this and did my magic. Luckily Chrysler left us enough space back there because they put a boatload of different engines in this car. So that space back there, much appreciated, because sometimes you have to take the intake manifold off. This was not one of those times, and it is quite nice. So that's how to do it. It is a completely approachable, doable job. There was nothing that was impossible. We didn't have to take off the intake manifold. We didn't have to do anything that isn't out of the skill range of an average DIY guy or gal. This is something you could do in your garage, in your driveway, pretty easily, but I will say, just take your time. There's no shame in going a little bit slower, taking a couple breaks, taking a breather, getting some water. So if you're worried about doing this job, you know, it looks a little difficult, it's really not. It's something that's very approachable if you should take your time. If you're experienced in this area, it is super easy. It's one of the easier spark plug jobs. Just keep track of the wire placements on the back side of the engine because they're not as straightforward as the front of the engine that's facing you. Other than that, it's completely doable. All applicable links are down below in the description. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.